fifth cycle, the EAO is to the forefront. And so now a person has choice, you see, because that's what we have. That's really what we own. We don't really own anything else, but we have our choice. We have a choice. Always choice inside us. We choose everything, what to do, what to say, when to go, how we're going to live, everything. We have that choice to serve Jehovah or to fawn on Satan self, which as it says in Oahspe. So we have that choice. And that's what we own. We own our choices. And so the fifth cycle represents, in a sense, this choice, our choice. You know, where are we going to go on the elevator? And so that depends, you see, upon what needs to be done, really, and where a person is in their grade and so forth. And when you rise up and down on the EAO, on the elevator, you can rise up in light and higher, more rarefication, or into the light, and more rarefied light, or you can drop down into the darkness, into the density, into the depths, and the point in between, the horizon. Remember, that's what we talked about, the horizon, that was established way back in the first cycle. That is essentially, that becomes the 0 point, or the neutral point, the ground point, and then you have darkness below and light up above. And so in EAO you can rise way up or you can rise way down, well, according to how far we're able to, or a person chooses to do, if they have a certain amount of mastery over rising and descending and then coming back up and so forth. So so in looking at like a society, for example, or a a nation, or even the world, we can look to see where they are, what their grade is, and then we can know where they're going to be lifting up to or sinking down to, as the case may be, with regard to whatever it is that the object that we're looking at to prophesy over. And that can be seen in the EAO. Well, it's one of the places that it can be seen. There's other places where it can be seen, but we won't touch on that now. The EAO sets the foundation, the inner foundation. Even though it's still working on in the outer realm, it's also but it is also the establishment of this inner foundation, where we are going to go on the elevator. And now sometimes we don't choose, we just get lifted or drop down, depending upon, if we're part of the social order and the social order goes up or down, we tend to go up and down with it. We do to some extent, and we're told that in Oahspe, the grade of the nation, everybody in that nation is affected by the overall grade of the nation. And that only makes sense. I mean, if you have a lot of people who are in light, that's going to uplift everybody. But if you have a lot of people down in darkness or despair or confusion or whatever, well, that's going to affect everyone too. And that's all a part of the EAO. You know, where are you in the grades, or the object that we're looking at for the purpose of prophesying. You know, where is it going to be, and how's it going to work out? Oh, we might also mention, with regard to the those who would use prophecy for self purposes, that actually because it's being sown in self, it will come back to a person. The sowing, and then you get the reaping. But the reaping for self, you see, is more self, and it actually rather leaves a person in a worse condition than when they started. And so that's why it's always important to sow in light and in peace and harmony and brotherhood. And by brotherhood we mean fraternity, which by that we mean essentially family, but family in a special type of a way, not a blood family, but like a spiritual family, we might say. And we won't get into it now, the definition of fraternity and all that, but just to let you know that there's nothing sexist about by saying brotherhood, at least when I'm talking, that it's not going to be, because we're all brothers and sisters, every one of us. We're all, no matter our age or anything, we're all brothers and sisters of one great spirit. Let's look at about going forward in this Ieo, because you have this Ieo. Well, okay, now you might have been taken on an elevator, your social order or your group, your family that you were in, your fraternity. It may be at a certain level, and then you go along with that level. But you still have choice. You still have choice within that, because there's always things within a thing, and choices within choices. And so we come to the next sign in Samoin, which is the Hoi. Now the Hoi, which is basically your circle with the true cross in it, and the upright cross, equal lengths and touching the edge of the circle. Let's look at how that came about, and how that came about was the cosmos. You recall what the cosmos looks like, which is the circle with the horizon in it. And in creation there is something called the drift, which is essentially an unwinding kind of a thing. It's a movement toward, from the masculine to the feminine, from the concentrated to the less concentrated, from the corpor to S. Although we have a cosmos, it's not and it's stable, but it's not dead. It's living, and there's motion involved. Where there's life, there's motion, and that's part of the drift. And so it changes from where it was. It's still a cosmos, but it's in change. And the Ieo, in a sense, represents the drift, and the opposite of the foundation, of the outer foundation, being the inner foundation. And so Ieo, what Ieo does is Ieo looks first at that inner foundation and says, okay, here's our new horizon point, essentially. And 6, which is the Hoi, says, okay, yeah, all right, there's our horizon, and there's our height and our depth. And so, we see this ideal, because that's what Hoi is. Hoi represents, one of the things is idealism, ideal. What is the ideal? And it's the all good, of course, is the ideal. And how do you get to the ideal? How do you sustain the ideal and all that? Well, of course, we have to be careful, because now in Oahspe, it says that one of the things this means is the create and the uz.